Hi, it's Alex Jeffries here from internetdocumentary.com, the online documentary of making millionaires out of thin air. Today I'm with Mark Anastasi, the host, a wonderful host. Thank you for having us. We're in Cyprus right now in his wonderful house here. Been a wonderful host, taking us to some beautiful restaurants, and it's been a wonderful day, huh?
It has been indeed.
It's been a wonderful day. So I'm with Mark right now, and I want to just quickly talk about, I'm in Cyprus on vacation with my family, and Mark, we spoke, we knew we were both here, so we met up for the day. And Mark's been really educating myself on taxes. I run an internet company, and I teach people how to make money on the internet. And I've even had this conversation with my mentors lately. It's like, you taught me how to make a lot of money online, but nobody ever taught me how to keep this money, And that's a real issue. And it's a real issue that a lot of people never speak about, Mark, A lot of people go through this. So really, let's just talk about what you've been teaching me today about taxes and this kind of stuff,
Well, like I was mentioning earlier today, when I started out with internet marketing, I was just so happy that I was making more money, right? So the income was coming in, it was fantastic, multiple streams of income, and you're thinking, wow, this is great, I'm making so much money. And after about 2.5 years, I realized, you know what, I've made a lot of money, but where the heck is my money? And I remember coming up to a mentor of mine at the end of 2006, and I said to him, listen, I don't understand. I've done over $2 million in sales in the last 2.5 years. Where is that money? What have I done with it? Yeah, I don't get it. Why am I not keeping more of that money? And he said to me, Mark, okay, you've learned one set of skills. You've learned about how to make more money. So you learned about sales, about marketing, about even talking, all kinds of things, copywriting, all those sales-related things. Great. But there's a whole other set of skills which have to do with keeping the money, which basically means things like having a budget, things like knowing exactly how much you spend and how much you're earning, knowing, spending less than you earn and investing the difference. Things like paying yourself first. Basically, that the first money that comes in every single month, you put it into your savings account as opposed to paying the bills and paying everybody else, right? And that is a very simple discipline. Or actually, we were talking earlier about having that set point where you just determine, you say, you know what, I'm not going to have less than $50,000 in my bank account. I'm not going to have less than 300,000. That's like the limit of, like, my security is that point, and I'll do whatever it takes to not go below that limit. It's just a psychological set point. It's a decision. It's a standard that you set. For most people, and for my first 2.5 years in business, my standard was, if I have zero money in the bank account. Now, I'll start by saying I was 7,000 pounds in debt before. I was $12,000 in debt, right? So because I had $12,000 in debt, and my goal was to not have debt anymore, because my goal was to not have debt, guess what? Zero was a great point. I was like, wow, I'm ahead of the game if I'm just at zero, right? So I decided, you know what, 20,000 pounds is the limit, then 40,000, then 60,000, then you kind of decide what is your set point, your standard in life. You won't accept less than that in your bank account. That's a standard. And that's just a psychological thing. So that's what was happening for me towards the end of 2006, and from the 1st of January 2007, I always tracked every single penny that comes in and that goes out, so I can basically gauge what is profitable, what isn't, what is the 20% that I do, or the 20% that I do that brings in 80% of the profit, and then what is the 20% of the 20%? What is the 4% that I do personally in my business that brings in what is 80% of 80%? Like, that brings in 50%, let's say, of your profit. In your business, there's probably 4% of the activity that you do that brings in 50% of the profit. And you've got to identify what that is, right? Now, that aside, Robert Kiyosaki says that your number one expense in life is going to be taxes. And I've spoken to a lot of friends of mine in Australia, for example, and in Australia, 40% of your profits goes to the government. Then out of what you earn as dividends from your business, another 30% is going to be taken by the government as well. So essentially, pretty much in Australia, if you live in Australia, if you have a business in Australia, 70% of the money you'll make will go to the government. In France, it's 60% to 70%, and they have a joke in France that from January to June, I work for the government, and from July till December, I get to keep the money, right? And in England, in the US, in most countries now, in the Western world, because the governments are so broke, they're having to privatize their assets. They're having to sell their assets off. Basically, they're having to sell of land. They're having to cut down on services provided. They've got to basically cut down on pensions and what have you. Why? Because the governments are broke, and of course they have to keep taxing the population more and more. So if you live,
if you have an aeroplane come across us now,
sort of maybe
you might hear the aeroplane with this. In wonderful Greece, Cyprus.
Yes.
So yeah.
We're on the flight, but essentially. So what were we saying?
Yeah. So like what we were talking about. What we were talking about earlier is maybe you can talk about my case. It's like you know, with my taxes. What we were speaking about earlier.
You have a U.S. company.
Yes.
You have also a UK company. You work in the UK. Your business is in the UK. That basically means, if I understand, you get taxed for the same business. You get taxed and in the US and in the UK, which is not the way to do it. It's basically like paying your taxes twice to two different countries, right?
It's pretty horrendous, And the way we've set up is because there is reasons why we have to do it, but it's not good, And this is something that I'm learning and I've had to go through, and especially now we're in Cyprus, which the tax is in this country.
Well, for example, a few things about having a Cyprus company. The maximum corporation tax is 20%. In the US, I think it's 35%. In the UK, it's 30% to 40%, or it's even higher depending on the income. And basically, and in Cyprus, you pretty much will get taxed at 10% of your capital gains in Cyprus, as opposed to, let's say, 40% in England. There are certain countries, Singapore, Seychelles, certain countries where by law you can pay 0% tax, depending on what that business does, etc., etc. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do those things, that you change your corporate setup right now, but I am suggesting that you definitely need to educate yourself, you definitely need to learn about what options you have, what alternatives you have. The fact is that most accountants, even the best accountants in the world, they are accountants. They are trained in telling you how much tax you got to pay to the government. They're not trained in telling you about double taxation treaties between two countries. They're not trained to tell you about international tax planning. You typically got to pay 27,000, 30,000, 40,000 euros to KPMG, for example, or PricewaterhouseCoopers, for them to give you this kind of advice.
What I really liked today was, like you said about this, what is it called? The
double taxation treaties.
The double taxation treaties. It's like Mark was saying to me that, I could work, like a third of what I work now and still make the same amount of money.
Or more money, more money.
And we're talking about keeping money now. I've made millions of dollars online, but we haven't been able to keep that money. So, and I teach a lot of people how to make a lot of money online, but this is something that I'm learning now because I've had to go through it and say, wow, I've spent a lot of money on taxes. I've spent a lot of money that I didn't need to. And I could be working a lot less with, like you said, these kind of things. And it's been a very interesting day. We spent the whole day talking about a lot of very interesting, very cool stuff that is actionable. Maybe when you're just starting out, this isn't, for people who are just beginning, but for people who are making money online already, or in any kind of business, this is something you need to start thinking about, because when you realize what Mark said to me, and this is why I wanted to do this video, is like, he said to me, you could be working just a third of what you work and keep more money.
I'm sure that you could work a third less, even do a third of the sales you're doing now, but keep more money than what you're doing, based on simply structuring things a little bit different. But of course, you've got to speak to some experts about it. I'm not an expert about this. I hire experts to give me some good advice, right? But definitely, like we said, there's a set of skills that you need to make more money. Skills like marketing, sales, etc. Right? Setting up a business, coming up with good ideas, good product, creating products. All of those skills, speaking skills, all of those skills have to do with making more money. But then there's a set of skills about saving money, and that has to do with budgeting, international tax planning, spending less than you earn, and then the third set of skills is investing. And that's something that both of us are now looking towards learning more, which is basically improving our investing skills, finding out what can bring the best return on investment. But knowing investing skills, that's irrelevant if you haven't first saved up a good chunk of money. If you're not daily or weekly or monthly saving up some money as a force of habit, as a habit, as a habit.
As a habit. So the good thing is, if somebody wasn't to be making money, the first thing you want to do is really learn how to make money. Right? That's the first thing you want to do. But obviously, what I'm getting at here is that in the back of the mind, this is something that I missed out on for many years. It's like, hey, I'm making money. It was great, right? I'm making a lot of money.
Great lifestyle.
Amazing lifestyle.
Spending lots of money.
Yeah, amazing lifestyle. Then you sit back and say, wow, what just happened over these last couple of years?
Where's the cash?
Where's the cash gone? And that's just the reality of it. So that's just something that I've been studying now. And like I said to Mark, I've been really studying investments and asset investments. We talked about asset protection as well, and these kind of things. And it's very interesting. I mean, it's an interesting journey that I'm about to take. You're already taking and embarking on.
It took me 2.5, 3 years before I started being careful with money and what have you, and saving and basically budgeting and all of those things. I know that people like Peter Lynch, or I think it's Peter Lynch, and Robert Kiyosaki, they talk about how living on just 10% of your income or 20% of your income and saving up 4/5 of your income every single month. And I'm very glad that I was able to do this the last few years, living just on a portion of my income, still have a great lifestyle, but having that discipline of not trying to keep up with the Joneses, not trying to impress people, not trying to be flashy or what have you. And it's true that when you start making a lot more money, I went from zero to making $10,000 a month by the end of the first month. 28 days later, I had a $10,000 a month internet business. So my first instinct, as somebody who never had any money, was to spend 20 grand a month. You make 10 grand, you spend 20 grand a month, because now you're thinking, oh, I've got cash, let me just.
And you think the cash comes, and we're with somebody there, and I won't mention his name, who we're with, but he needs to raise like $100,000 in 3 weeks. And he said, like, I don't know how I'm going to raise the cash, but I know I'm going to raise $100,000. And we both know he'll raise $100,000 like that.
Because he has the skills.
The skills. But the very cool thing that he said to me was, I also have $5 million in an account where I can actually play with this money and actually, invest this money and play with it. And I was sitting there, and he's like, I don't need the Ferraris, I don't need all of these cars. I've got a very modest car that he's had for many years. And I'm just driving, where we went, where did we go? Where did you take us today?
Kurion and then Pisuri.
Kurion and Pisuri, so, some very old, Cyprus.
Archaeological site.
Yeah, and I'm driving in the car with him, and I'm like, just sitting there, just like, kind of, and I've known this guy for years, we've known each other since 2006, but just to be there and hear this, and just to say, and I'm thinking like, we can, and my wife's here with me, and my son, and my wife's cousin's on vacation with us, so she, people know what I do on the internet, but she was sat there with us today. She must have been blown away by listening to us talk, actually being very open, because I'm not, when I'm around my friends, I don't speak a lot about my business. When she's sitting there listening to us talk, she must be like, and she was in the back of the car, and she said to me, wow, what a nice, grounded, down-to-earth guy he was, And I said, yeah, and the thing is, we come from humble beginnings where it wasn't given to us the money. We've had to work very hard for it, Like, I work hard in my business, and I really like to work hard, I'm on vacation right now, and I'm still, I suppose this is work, I can call this work, So with that said, I'm really done. Is there any last words you want to say, or cool?
Well, depending on where you're at, you either need to learn about making money right now, business and sales, and we've been teaching this for years to people, right? And now as we move forward in our own lives and our own mindset as well, as that evolves, then I guess it would be a cool thing for you to join Alex here on his journey, on our journey, and basically learn the next set of skills as well.
Yeah, and that's it. It is just continuing your education, and whether you're making money or not, definitely want to be thinking about, when you do make that money, what are you going to do with that money? Don't keep up with the Joneses. I've been, I've done that. I've made mistakes like this. I've just gone and blown, money that I didn't have or expected to come in. So I think it was needed for me, but I hope you don't need to do that personally if you watch this video. So it's been a pleasure. You are the host of the most, and I do appreciate your time here.
Thank you, Alex.
So from wonderful Cyprus, I will see you soon. Alex Jeffries signing out. Ciao for now. Peace and love. Cool.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that was very good stuff, actually.
Good stuff. Man.
Now into the circle.
Hey.
You have a what cramp? Oh, look at that. Leo move.